Well, the SACP has been at the forefront of the push for the establishment of this Commission of Inquiry. What are its expectations of this particular Judicial Commission of Inquiry? Well, joining us in studio now is the party's first Deputy General Secretary, and that's Solly Mapaila. Mr. Mapaila, thank you very much for making the time this morning. Perhaps let's respond directly to what your fellow comrade there, Carl Niehaus, has had to say. The argument or the debate around how far back should this Commission of Inquiry go into investigating state capture. What has been the SACP standpoint?
Well, our main point has been that we wanted to deal with corruption that is happening in the democratic space under our leadership. And that's where, because we couldn't agree where revolutionaries behave like the apartheid government. And we've made this call hoping that it will assist us to run a clean governance and make sure that we are able to run the transformation program as best as we could, using every single available resource and ensuring that the democratic government is respected as such, is not captured by individuals, the corporates, in this case the Guptas, who have shown that they were at the forefront. Of course, others that would have been involved. That is why we felt that the investigation should cover the period under our leadership. And of course, to understand the depth of corruption and the impact, obviously, that it has had on the ability for development in our country. You would have seen, for instance, different parts of the country, there are many protests and so forth because of lack of resources in the main. The people's expectations are far ahead of what the government can actually do. So as a consequence, you see that a lot of resources has been wasted. And that's why we felt that we needed to stop the looting of state resources and ensure that those resources are used for the development of the people as a whole broadly.
Talk to me about the skepticism around this commission. Some people saying that what will it achieve, really? What, in the SACP's view, will be the measure of this commission's success?
Yes, I think the most important thing is to first understand the depth of corruption that has taken place and the level of corporate influence on government decisions, and how to rectify that, coming with recommendations that will make sure that when the people elect a government and the government has made a commitment regarding its manifestos and so forth, which is what it sells to the people who then vote it into office, then the people can hold it accountable to that particular manifesto. But the government mustn't go in and hand over its authority to a grouping outside the elected leadership and constitutional principles. But also, it's a process to affirm our constitutionalism and our democracy. And that is why this process is very important. And we expect that in this process, quite clearly, there will be a huge fight back. Like you can see with Carl Niehaus, that's part of the team that will besmirch every other witness that is there to make sure that they frustrate the commission and actually also intimidate the people, by the way, that are making inputs against those who are corrupt.
I'm going to come back on the so-called fight back campaign. People are saying, in simple language, the measure of this Commission of Inquiry will be or will depend on whether people are convicted and sent to jail for stealing money. Is that your standpoint? Is that what you ultimately want out of this?
Well, let me start this way. We want people to be arrested now, not to wait until the commission has ended its work. And there's nothing wrong with someone being brought from jail to come and give evidence, because there's prima facie evidence in many instances of people who are involved in state looting. In fact, if you like, there's a thievery corporation that has been created to loot state resources. And we want those people to be arrested. And we want the networks of those people to be cut. That is why we have commended the leadership that has been provided by some of the ministers in government and the government as a whole under President Ramaphosa to fight corruption and to deal with those parasitic networks that will continue the program of corruption. So that is why we want people to be arrested as soon as it's possible, as soon as evidence is available. But we want the commission to go on so that we know the depth of the crisis. We had expected, obviously, like the president, perhaps that perhaps about 6 months or less than a year, we could do this inquiry. But to the extent of Justice Zondo's assessment, they felt that they needed more time. We support that particular process so that we can go to the depth of the problem, and also people can know that if they start corruption, it will finally be revealed, it will come out, and they will be dealt with. So that's the significance of this particular commission. Of course, even at the end, when they make recommendations, we'll want government to act on those recommendations.
Are there people you have in mind when you say people should actually be arrested now and be brought back from jail to come and give testimony?
Yeah, there are many people, obviously, the Guptas as the first part, and the people that they were working with, the great lot as ESCOM, Brian Molefe and others. Of course, the implicated, the kin master of this, former President Zuma himself.
You want him in jail?
He certainly has to answer. I mean, what will be the difference between him and others who have committed a crime? If you commit a crime, you go to jail. And we had given him the opportunity to cleanse himself, and he has refused to do that. And if it's found that he is involved in this, there will be no problem with him going to jail.
The Commission Chairperson, Raymond Zondo, yesterday expressing disappointment, particularly on the call that he made, that anyone who may have evidence, please come forward. And he particularly singled out municipal officials, government department officials. The reluctance of people to come forward. What, in your view, is the cause of that?
Of course, it's the extent of the networks and the intimidation that have been going on, the role of state security in this regard, the criminal intelligence networks that have been co-opted into these networks themselves. That's why, for instance, Judge Zondo yesterday indicated, for instance, the fact that some of the commissioners could not be, their security clearance could not be finalized. And there was no reason whatsoever, given the time. It's quite clear that even inside that state security, there are rogue elements that we have complained about, that have shielded corruption, that have looted state resources openly, and it is that network that also must be destroyed so that we are able to rebuild a better state system with a better intelligence system that serves the people of South Africa rather than serving the interest of corrupt lot, including the corrupt leaders. The
security element, the security clearance element that you speak about, evidence leaders that are unable to conduct their work because they've not been cleared by the state security agency. So, in your view, you're clear. It's not incompetence. It has nothing to do with incompetence. It has to do with a deliberate act to sabotage.
No, it's a deliberate act of sabotage. And I think we must deal with that. That's why even this commission created by the President to review intelligence must do its work quite clearly. But at the moment, the President and the Minister and the DG responsible for intelligence must give whoever is responsible for this a clear mandate, timeframes, to make sure that these people are cleared or not cleared accordingly. They use the processes that is there and indicate the possibility for them to start doing their job as soon as it's possible. That's a matter of absolute agency. And we cannot allow any criminal element, the intelligence forces and all of that, to try and sabotage this particular process. That is why it's important that the President must send a very clear message in this regard. And whoever is found to be obstructing justice in this case must be removed or actually even face the wrath of the law.
Just as a final question, Mr. Mapaila, and very quickly, we are out of time. Those who have been fired or suspended from these state-owned entities, they saying that President Ramaphosa is using state resources to fight political battles, and they're going to meet him at the NGC, which, by the way, they hope to bring forward from being held in 2020 and perhaps could be brought sooner than that. In your view, does President Ramaphosa face a real threat at that NGC?
No, that's wishful thinking. They may try and plot and plan that. We do know that there's such, we raised this thing first when it emerged in KwaZulu-Natal with President Zuma at the core of that, and we have condemned that. They will continue to do that, but we want to say clearly that this is a fight back against South Africa. It's not just about President Ramaphosa. It's a fight back against constitutionalism. It's a fight back against our democracy. It's a fight back against good governance. And it's a fight back for criminality and a mafia state, and for the corporate capturers to go and live happily thereafter. We can't allow that in this country. That is why South Africa must stand up. We will be having a march tomorrow to the Commission, to give it support, and will continuously raise issues to make sure that the Commission is not intimidated, is able to do its work properly. We're expecting a huge fight back, particularly from the criminal elements, to intimidate all other people within the Commission's program, whether it's the investigators and so on and so forth, witnesses and their families. We come from that particular period ourselves, so we know what it takes, and they will use every single possibility. And unfortunately, some of them, because some of them are embedded within the state institution, they will also use that particular process. But the fight back won't succeed. We'll defeat it.
So Mapaila, thank you very much for your time. He is the SACP's first Deputy General Secretary, talking to us about the work that begins in earnest today of that state capture inquiry. Moving